everyone, it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I'm sharing with you my Pick-a-Stick Challenge, which is also filling in for my day 47 of the 100 Days project in which I'm doing mixed media collage. So I'm going to be working on a 5x7 canvas. Usually our Pick-a-Stick Challenge from the Art Joy of Sharing art community is we usually do it as an art journal page, but you can do it on whatever you want. If you want to do it on a canvas, do it on a canvas. So I am. The way the Pick-a-Stick Challenge works is we give you a set of prompts. These are one-word prompts that you can interpret any way that you want. You do the first 6 and you do them in order. You can put something before, in between, after, wherever, but you need to do the 6 prompts in order. If you don't like one of them, there are 2 wild cards, and you can replace something that you don't like on the prompt list with one of the wild cards. Or you could do all of the prompts if you want to, all 8. And then, of course, there are 2 colors. So I'm going to be just using the 6 prompts and the 2 colors today. I didn't end up using any wild cards at all. But sometimes I do, and if you want to see how that works, you can certainly watch any of my Pick-a-Stick challenges, which have been going on for every month for like over 5 years now. So if you want to participate in the Pick-a-Stick challenge, you can come over to Art Joy of Sharing Art Community and join up. We post it on the 1st of every month all year long. So there will be one for every single month, and you can go back and look at the older ones and do them if you want. It's fun because the prompts are only one word. They're not telling you exactly what to do. They're telling you to interpret what to do, and it makes it more fun that way by just, whatever you think that word means. There pretty much any word has multiple meanings. So I started actually making a background for this last week on the Art Joy of Sharing live stream, and then I finished it today on the Art Joy of Sharing live stream. That's a different channel that Peg and I share, and we have a live stream every Thursday at 8:30 Pacific time, whatever time that is in your world. It's 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, and we like it when you guys come and join us live and talk in the chat and ask questions and things like that. So you can always do that. I'll put a link to that channel below the video, as well as a link to the art community. So the first prompt this time was cut. And I have some leftover bits of a dense foam that comes from Home Depot. I think it's for insulation. My son used it to kind of adjust and insulate the what are those things called? He got a truck, and then he wanted to put this thing on the back of it that's like a shell. Is that what it's called? I don't know. Anyway, he used this because the shell wasn't exactly the right size, but it was close. So he gave me the leftovers, and I thought to myself that I could make foam stamps out of them. And this is the first time that I've tried, but I cut a couple leaf shapes with an X-Acto knife out of that foam, and then I even made little indentations where the veins in the leaf would be. One of the prompts is leaf, so I wanted to do that. Now, I am doing mixed media collage, so I need to have collage elements on this because of the 100 Days project was a different thing, but this is going to be, this will be day 47 of my 100 days of mixed media collage. So I had this paper left over from when I was making backgrounds last week, and it's the colors. I use the colors that I interpret as being the colors for the Pick-a-Stick. The colors are botanical and sulfur. I matched up acrylic paint and decided that sap green and green gold acrylic paint were close to the colors. So those are the ones that I used on this paper. And then I just tore it up. Now the big piece of paper that I had started the background on, it's thick. It's Bristol paper, so it's like a cardstock, which I don't enjoy collaging. And then the leftover scraped paint pieces that I have here were done on a piece of palette paper, which has a glossy, shiny side for using as a palette. And I don't really use that for collage either, but I went ahead and did it. So it ended up giving me a lot of texture because that Bristol paper's thick. So there's edges to it. Plus, when I had scraped the excess paint onto the other paper, it left some ridges because I scraped it with a card. So my background, as I'm collaging it on with Liquitex matte gel medium, it is a little bit textured. So I decided to just lean into that and make it really textured. The next prompt was emboss. A lot of people think that that means heat embossing, but really the word emboss just means to make raised. So you can do pressure embossing, you can put it through, one of those things where it it where you put it through a big shop machine or something, a die cutting machine, and it presses. You have the little folder that presses. You can do pressure embossing by just putting your piece of paper on something squishy and using a stylus to press so that you get that raised look. And of course, you can also do heat embossing. And then there's another option, which is some type of a paste. Sometimes they even call it embossing paste. Sometimes it's called modeling paste. Sometimes it's called molding paste. But this is just basically an acrylic medium that makes something raised. And you can apply it with a palette tool to make a lot of texture, or in this case, I used a stencil from Stencil Girl Products to make this raised pattern with the paste. And then I thought to myself, as I was doing this, I should put some embossing powder on there because this paste is sticky. However, I did use the paste that dries very quickly because I was needing this to dry quickly, and I had actually dried the one side. So when I dumped some embossing powder on it to make it even more textural, because this was chunky embossing powder, thick ground embossing powder, um, it only stuck in a couple areas because the stuff was already dry. I live in a dry environment and the top layer of stuff dries really quickly. So I decided, well, if I'm going to do that, then I need to put something sticky on there to make the embossing powder stick to. So I decided to get my Versamark ink pad, which is one of the clear sticky ink pads, put my stencil over the top again in the same area, and just pat some of that sticky ink on those raised areas. And then I thought, oh, I could just drag it over the top. Well, that wasn't the best way. You do need to do it with the stencil because I got some ink in other places where I didn't want it. And anyway, I went ahead and did some more embossing powder. Same stuff. It's a clear, slightly tinted, chunky embossing powder, like really thickly ground. So it gives a lot of bumps and texture and interesting stuff. If you want a textural surface, that's a good way to go, is embossing powder. A lot of people don't think about it because they think about making cards and things with embossing powder and not necessarily doing mixed media layers with it. But you certainly can. You absolutely can. At the end of this piece, once it's all dry, I'll put varnish over the top of it, spray varnish, and that will seal all that in. So there's really no reason that you can't use embossing powder. So then the next prompt, the prompt 3, was leaf. So I wanted to put some images of my leaves on there. So I used that same ink and embossing powder and stamped both sizes of my little kind of heart-shaped leaves. The idea is, I did look through the prompts before I started, and there is a prompt at the end called glory. And I thought, what does that mean? It could mean so many things. I mean, it could really mean so many things. You could use it in a quote. You could do something like put rays of light coming from something that's being glorious, the glorious sun, or whatever. I mean, these things are so easily interpreted. There we go. I'm weird today. I'm talking funny. But yeah, I wanted leaves on there, and I wanted them in that clearish embossing powder. So that's what I did. Leaf. Another option for leaf would be to put gold leaf on, right? That would be a leaf. There's just so many. You could use the inside leaf of a page as your art. It's so fun to interpret these in weird ways. But I did literal leaves on there along with my other stuff. So the next one is spritz. And I looked around for some different types of inks or things that I could spritz with. And I decided to use this Dina Wakley gloss spray. And it worked. What was kind of eliminate the background and make the things that are embossed stand out, because that creates a resist, right? So the plasticiness of the embossing powder resists the spray. And I don't know, it's kind of hard to see on the video, but the little leaves started to come out when I sprayed the background with the type of a resist idea. They're not super dramatic because the color changes in a whole lot. I used the olive and the turquoise from the gloss spray from Dina Wakley, and they're kind of the same colors as all the rest of it, but it's looking really tropical at this point. So then the next prompt was drop, and I decided to drop a few drips of alcohol ink onto my piece, because alcohol ink can go over anything. It can go on acrylic, it can go on plastic, it can go on glass. So I added some dark color alcohol ink and then kind of blended it with some spritz of rubbing alcohol. And that was my drop prompt, which was prompt 5. So prompt 6 is that one I was talking about, glory, and I decided to do morning glory flowers because that's works for the prompt. I had to look them up on the computer and find a picture because I don't remember what they look like. I know that I had to dig them up a lot when I was a kid because they're kind of a weed. Some people think they're super pretty and keep them, and other people think that they're a weed and they want them out of their grasses and stuff. So they're a trumpet-shaped flower. Just don't happen to have them in Arizona. We do have other trumpet-shaped flowers, but not morning glories. So I looked up a picture and then I went ahead and drew them. And the piece of paper I had on my table was rice paper, which is a really absorbent paper. And I wanted a thin paper because I planned on collaging these on. So I just grabbed that and I drew them with a little bit of light pencil marks and then colored in with my Neocolor 2 water-soluble crayons. I think there are different colors, but I remember them being kind of a lavender purple with a yellow center. So cut out my morning glory piece, trying to decide where it would look good on there. And decided I needed a couple more, so I drew a couple more, colored them with the same colors, some periwinkle, some indigo, some more of a red violet type color, and then a little bit of yellow in the center. And then I did, on a couple of them, I did the stem, the beginning of the stems so that I could blend it into what was in the background, which is a lot of stems and things. So the leaves that I cut out of the stamp, out of the foam to make a stamp, were the right shape for the leaves that a morning glory has, which is the heart shape. But then the stuff that I put on the background is more like grass. So it's like maybe your morning glory has gotten into your grass plant and it's weaving its way through. And so that's kind of the look we're going for here. So I hope you guys are enjoying this piece, and if you are, please remember to give me a thumbs up and some comments and subscribe and all that stuff. If you think this challenge seems fun and you haven't done it before, come on over to the Art Joy of Sharing Art community, join up. Make sure that you answer the questions when they pop up, because we don't accept you if you don't answer the questions. We use that as a way to keep the type of Facebook accounts that are just made for selling stuff. That's not what the group is about. It's about sharing. So we want you to share your art. We want you to be involved in an art community that supports one another, that talks nice to each other, and that's what we're about in Art Joy of Sharing. And then, of course, we have challenges. We have the Pick a Stick Challenge. We have the Mood Board Challenge every month. We have a theme every month. And we also have other like challenges occasionally that go on daily, all month, things like that. So it's a great place to hang out, and we welcome anyone who wants to be involved in an art community and share their art and support each other. So be sure to come over and join us if you haven't already. Use the link below the video. So now I've collaged these rice paper pieces on with some fluid matte medium because rice paper is thin and absorbent, and so that's the best medium to use for it. You want the medium to soak all the way through and seal everything up. And I decided that they needed a little bit more color, so I added some more Color 2 crayon pigment on there to brighten them up some and to just add a little bit more variety. They really kind of faded out when I glued them on. The dark background coming through the very thin paper made them more dark than I wanted. These Color 2 crayons are often opaque. Not every single color, but most of them are really quite opaque, so I can color over the top and brighten everything up with them if I want to. Of course, they are water soluble. I'm going to need to seal this, but I already told you I'm going to seal it with spray varnish, so not a problem. I colored directly on the piece, and I also used my water brush to pick color up off the end of the crayon and color with it. And then dried everything down and decided that I needed to add some white, and I'm going to use an acrylic paint marker here to kind of add in the little stamen or whatever they are in the center of the flower, because they seem to be very light colored in the picture that I had. And then I also added a little bit of highlight in a few places with that same acrylic paint marker, blending it with my water brush. And that kind of brightened him up too, made him stand out a little bit more from the background. And then the very final thing that I did was to add some shadows around the exterior of each flower to make them maybe be a little bit more differentiated from the background. And I used a Pitt Artist Brush pen to do that, which is an India ink pen in a brush format. And I used a dark green color. So I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to use the links below the video to come join our community. And of course, thumbs up. And if you have a question or a comment, please leave it below. And if you are not following me on Instagram, I don't make a video for every single one of my 100 days projects, but I am posting them all on Instagram. So if you want to see what I'm doing on the days that I'm not making a video, you can follow me at PaperOcotilloStudio, same as the name of this channel, on Instagram, and see the ones that didn't get made into a video. Probably at least 50 to 60% of them are not getting made into video. So if you really want to follow me on that project, that's the way to do it. So here comes your close-ups. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.